Imagine finding a penny in your pocket worth over $15,000. It sounds impossible, but for some lucky Americans, that dream has become reality. Welcome back to Numismatic Treasures, where today we're exploring one of the most celebrated minting errors in American coinage history, the legendary 1955 double-die obverse Lincoln cent. This isn't just any penny, it's a mistake that turned into treasure, a currency anomaly that continues to captivate collectors and casual coin enthusiasts alike. The story of the 1955 double die begins not with intention, but with error. In the bustling Philadelphia Mint of the mid-1950s, production was ramping up to meet the nation's growing demand for currency. The post-war economic boom meant the mint was working overtime, producing millions of coins daily. It was in this environment of high-volume production that one of numismatics' most famous errors was born. Let's travel back to that fateful day in 1955. The die-making process was a multi-step operation. To create a die for striking coins, the mint would use a hub containing the coins designed to make impressions on steel dies. This process, called hubbing, usually required multiple impressions to transfer the complete design. Between each impression, the die was supposed to be perfectly aligned with the hub. But during one late-night shift, something went wrong. The die that would create thousands of these famous pennies was misaligned between hubbings. Instead of perfectly matching the previous impression, the hub was rotated slightly off-center. When the die was pressed again, it created a double image, most noticeable in the date, inscriptions, and Lincoln's profile. The mint workers either didn't notice this doubling or, more likely in the production pressure of the time, decided the dies were usable enough despite the flaw. What makes this error so remarkable is that it happened on the obverse die, the head's side showing Lincoln's profile. The doubling is visible to the naked eye, which is unusual for mint errors. If you look at a 1955 double die, you'll see clear doubling in the word liberty, the motto, "In God We Trust," the date, 1955, and in Lincoln's profile. It's not subtle, the digits in the date appear to have shadows, creating an almost 3D effect that jumps out at experienced collectors. Approximately 20,000 to 24,000 of these pennies were struck before the error was discovered. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. Most of these error coins had already left the mint mixed in with normal pennies when the double die was finally noticed. Rather than halting distribution, mint officials decided it would be more cost-effective to simply continue the release. These double die cents were distributed primarily in cigarette packs as change from vending machines in the Massachusetts area, with some making their way to upstate New York. The coin's value has seen an extraordinary trajectory over the decades. When collectors first identified the error in the late 1950s, these pennies were selling for around $20, already 2,000 times their face value. By the 1970s, their value had climbed to several $100s. Today, even in circulated condition, a 1955 double die obverse can command $1,500 to $3,000. In uncirculated mint state, they regularly sell for $15,000 to $25,000. The finest examples have achieved truly remarkable prices at auction. In 2018, a specimen graded MS-65 red by PCGS sold for an astonishing $114,000. What's particularly fascinating about the 1955 double die's value is how dramatically it changes based on condition. The Lincoln cent was minted in copper, which means oxidation and environmental factors can significantly affect its appearance. Collectors categorize these cents into three color designations: brown, heavily oxidized, red-brown, partially oxidized, and red, showing full original copper luster. A brown example in lower mint state might sell for $5,000 to $8,000, while a pristine red specimen in MS-66 could fetch over $50,000. The preservation of the original red copper color is exceptionally important for this coin. When first minted, all copper pennies have a bright reddish-orange appearance, but most turn brown over time due to oxidation. Finding a 1955 double die that has maintained its original red color for nearly 7 decades is exceedingly rare and highly prized. Now, let me share something that even seasoned collectors might not know. There are actually several varieties of the 1955 double die, with the most dramatic doubling labeled as FS 101, FS standing for 5S Stanton, the authors of the definitive guide to die varieties. Lesser double dies from 1955 exist but command significantly lower premiums. The one you're looking for, the valuable one, shows dramatic doubling throughout the obverse inscriptions, especially in the motto and date. Another fascinating aspect of the 1955 double die is how it sparked public interest in coin collecting. When news of these valuable pennies began to spread, Americans started checking their change more carefully. This error, perhaps more than any other single coin, helped transform coin collecting from a niche hobby into a more mainstream pursuit in the 1950s and 60s. The hunt for the 1955 double die became something of a national pastime, with newspaper articles guiding readers on how to identify this potentially valuable error. There's also an interesting counterfeit history with this coin. As its value increased, so did attempts to create fake versions. Early counterfeiters used chemicals to artificially create the appearance of doubling, while more sophisticated operations actually created counterfeit dies. The best defense against purchasing a fake is knowing what authentic doubling looks like. It's consistent and sharp, particularly in the lettering of Liberty and In God We Trust. I've had the privilege of handling several 1955 double dies over my career, and there's something captivating about holding one. You're not just holding a rare coin, you're holding a piece of numismatic folklore. I remember one particular specimen brought in by an elderly gentleman who had received it in change from a newspaper stand in 1955. He'd kept it in an envelope marked "Special Penny" for over 60 years, not fully understanding its value until he decided to have his collection appraised. That penny, preserved in remarkable condition, sold for over $18,000 at auction. What I find most compelling about the 1955 double die is that it represents the perfect intersection of rarity, visibility, and story. Unlike some valuable coins whose worth comes from low mintage numbers or historical significance, this coin's value comes from a visible mistake, one that anyone can see without magnification. Its error is its identity, a reminder that sometimes imperfection can be more valuable than perfection. For collectors, the 1955 double die represents the dream find, a coin that could potentially be discovered in circulation, even today. While the odds of finding one in your pocket change in 2025 are astronomical, they're not zero. There are documented cases of these coins turning up in inherited collections, old coin jars, and even occasionally in circulation decades after their release. If you think you might have this famous error coin, look closely at the date and inscriptions. The doubling should be obvious and consistent across all lettering and numbers. Don't be fooled by machine doubling or strike doubling, which are more common and less valuable forms of coin anomalies. True hub doubling, as seen on the 1955 double die, creates a sharp, clearly separated secondary image. So next time you receive change, or if you're sorting through an old collection, take a moment to check those Lincoln cents. The 1955 double die continues to circulate, albeit rarely, and remains one of the most accessible white whales in American numismatics, a legendary coin that combines historical significance, visible error, and substantial value in a single, humble penny.